So as the saying goes, necessity is the mother of invention. So I was in the corporate world for well over 20 years, most of my adult life. I've worn many hats. I've worked on the top of a skyscraper in Paris with a jackhammer. I've restored parts of the castle of Versailles. I've done construction. I've worked in a funeral home, among many other things. But I was in the corporate world for a long time, and I realized that you'll never make any money in the rat race unless you invest it. And I learned this years later, having both parents as artists, not being very wise with money, good at investing, and making poor decisions. But I realized that I better invent my own passive income stream. So my YouTube channel is something that I'm hoping I'll get that viral video, but it's also like a passion of mine to create. I love to create art, I love to create music, and I've had a lot of different interests, and probably not the most focused on any one thing, but one thing I love to do is make people laugh. And just like my dad, I love to make goofy videos, ultra goofy videos, right? Because it's fun and it's kind of goofy, and I don't edit them, I keep it real. So whatever is going on with my brother and his mental illness, to try to put me in a bad light by showcasing some of my goofier and weirder YouTube videos, it's his decision, but ultimately that's something I like doing. And a lot of those videos you'll just see documents and snippets of my life, and there's quite a bit of footage where I've edited out that I haven't included on there. And that being said, I feel really bad for my brother. I love my brother. I love him to death, and that's kind of what my dad was describing in his notes before he died, was this somehow fatal relationship, because no matter what we've done, Andreas doesn't like us. He's like angry, and he was very angry at my dad. It was so unfair, and you gotta say to yourself, like my dad wrote, there's nothing more sacred than the love of a child and taking care of children, and that's his son, it's his child, and it ran him into the ground financially, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. And I'm not going to let Andreas do that, because my dad realized that he would just keep taking and taking. This house is a valuable asset. It's a legacy asset, and it can be used to make money. So why allow him to force me to sell it? And again, there was a pandemic, and we thought my dad had more time, and I was constantly going back and forth to the hospital with him. So if all the letters and T's and I's weren't dotted on his last will, that's nobody's fault but my dad's, really, and mine, because we tried the best we could, and I had no help really from anybody that's related to my dad biologically, which is sad. I mean, David came by a couple times, wrote my dad a check for $600, but hasn't even called me. My father's relatives haven't even called me and said, "Gee, Ollie, how you doing since your dad died?" or my condolences or anything like that. And they never helped my dad, period, with anything. So he made the decision to spend all his life savings, refinance his house to continually bail my brother out of trouble. I made a decision to keep giving him money to fix his car, to find an apartment. I kept helping him move his stuff out when he was getting evicted and chased by the cops. I told the cops not to press charges every time he assaulted me. I told his ex-girlfriends not to press charges every time they were complaining that they're going to have him arrested. He said so many orders of protection against him, and it's sad. The kid is not a bad kid. He may be a little stupid, a little slow, but his behavior, you would think it's absolute evil. The things he did are so hard to forgive. Right up until my mom died, with oxygen tubes in her nose, she kept saying to me, crying, and Andreas doesn't understand how sick she was, because all he would do was fight with me. And it's like, you do everything you can, and then, necessity is the mother of invention. So I've invented a way of expressing myself and sharing with the world what's going on with me and documenting my life in hopes for a viral video and a passive income, but as an outlet to be who I am, And I've done everything I possibly could for my brother. I've been so kind and generous and tolerant, but I cannot allow him to threaten me and my wife and attack me and then somehow deny my dad's last wishes. I mean, he came in here, he took his cameras, and he started to tell me that my dad's house and this artwork is bullshit. And he was saying that to my dad while he's dying and he's sick. It's just so upsetting, but it's like I have to try to figure out that, okay, I can detach myself emotionally from Andreas only to the point where I gotta say at some point he's gonna fall flat on his face because he's been indigent, unable to get along with people, doesn't have anybody, and I feel bad for him. I'm his only family. And my dad knew that I was the best, most responsible, I was in the best position and the most responsible to handle the finances, to continue paying the mortgage, making ends meet, managing the business that my father and I established to sell the artwork, which is entirely my responsibility. And I've been very generous with Andreas, continually giving him money, yet he seems to want to deny that. And I have all these text messages and videos that can prove it, that I've been giving him money and my father had been giving him money. I mean, there's so much documentation about it, yet he's just so mean and angry, wants to keep taking and taking and taking until there's nothing left. And it's like, I'm not going to allow that to ruin my life and to consume me. So I found out a way to talk about it. You know, and so here it goes. You know, I love you, Andreas. I love you. I care about you, and I miss you. And all these years I was writing you emails to try to explain to you that Dad is not going to be around that much longer. He's sick. He's dying. Just like I tried to explain to you with Mom. Come around and show Dad that we're getting along, that we're friends, that we love each other. And you couldn't do that while he's alive. So now I'm thinking, what's changed? What's to think that he has any intention of getting along with me? My dad's dying. He dies. And as he's dying, Andreas couldn't be bothered. I come in here, and he starts telling me what a piece of shit I am, and all this other shit, and making up stories that aren't true about me, that's liable, like defamation. And, you know, my wife is scared shit, and he's just disregarding photos, equipment, and taking whatever he can to sell. That doesn't belong to him. My dad didn't leave that stuff for him. His inheritance, my brother's inheritance, is his freedom that my dad bought for him with lawyers. That's his inheritance, his freedom. Now I feel really bad for him because his mental illness has prevented him from making logical decisions. You don't lie to a judge, Andreas. You don't lie to a judge and say you're living here when you haven't been living here. You haven't been living here in over 10 years. You were evicted here twice for refusing to leave. You've had so many instances where you slammed the door into my ex-girlfriend's head. You threatened my first wife with a knife. You've constantly had altercations here. You hurt your own dad because whatever the army made you scrambled eggs. I get it, but you got to realize, Dad's whole life savings was spent on just so you keep you out of jail. False accusations or not, everybody warned you, stay away from a certain crowd of people, and you wouldn't listen. They paid for you to go to college. You flunked that out because you wouldn't listen that, hey, if you're going to go to college 5 days a week, it's pretty hard, and full class, it's pretty hard to work full time. Just because I did it, I worked full time. I took three classes a week at the most. I didn't take 5 classes full time and go to work full time. I did it after work. But it's like, I don't know if it's jealousy or I don't know what it is with him, but first thing he wanted to do when he came out the army was try out his newly trained kung fu tactics on me. And I used to wrestle. So I would have to do that when my mom was sick and dying, right in this kitchen floor, wrestle him, get him in the cradle, like I got the baby brother in the cradle. Still trying to fight as if he never grew out of this anger towards me. And I don't know for what. What did I ever do to you? What did I ever do? Just been nice. And it's like, you know, you want to kill him with kindness, but my mom and dad spoiled the shit out of him, and so did I. I helped him out so many times. I've given him so much life advice, so much money and time and tears. Now, how am I supposed to I mean, he was telling me, oh, he's going to stay here and save up money for a year. And there's one fucking bathroom. There's a tiny house. And you can't even get along with me for more than 5 minutes. Okay? And you think that all of a sudden that I need a freeloader here who doesn't get along with me, who's had a history of fighting with me? And then what you do is after I'm grieving, you're telling me stop crying like a baby. I'm grieving. My dad died. That's my best friend. You're telling me what your plans are and how you're going to turn this into your YouTube studio and this, and you have these parties here. Now, I saw pictures where you had strippers and shit while Dad was in the hospital. Strippers up in the house. Half the shit went missing that time, too. You know, and I said, no, we can't have that. I can't have violence and fighting and bullshit and you not realizing that there's no free ride here. Dad's not paying your way anymore. I can't pay your way. I can't tolerate. And the thanks I got is you lying to the judge, saying you lived here, making some fictitious order of protection because I asked you to sign a waiver so I wouldn't have to do this whole deed transfer, you know, surrogate court, all this kind of bullshit, right? And it would just be an expedited process so I could get focused on the artwork. Instead, what you do is you turn around, the cops knock on my door with those really nice, you know, uniforms. That's this police department. They got the nicest uniforms, I gotta say. And some of the nicest cops I ever met in my life because they've probably been here, I don't know, 100 times, you know, especially the ones that I didn't grow up with that aren't retired. They've probably been 100 times. They know the deal. But they said to me, yeah, well, the judge seemed to be convinced that you live here because you lied to the judge. Now, Jays, you're facing perjury. I read that that's punishable up to 5 years in jail, lying under oath to a judge. You don't live here. You haven't lived here. Same judge had you evicted. So at what point do you say, well, how can I help my brother? I don't want him to be in jail. I need help. I don't want him to have mandated help. I want him to get help of his own volition. However, I cannot allow somebody to continually make me take time off of work, cause my wife and I much distress while I'm grieving the death of my dad. I can't allow this to keep going on like this. So, you know, Andreas, I'm going to make you a deal here. And I hope that you take it. When my lawyer offers you the deal, I hope that you take it and you run with it and you go to Miami. You just get out of Dodge. Start a new life. You know, you've disgraced our family. You disgraced our family. You had to change your name. You'd go by a different name even. I mean, come on now. I love you. I care about you. I miss the good times we had as kids. I miss reminiscing about that. But you got to get off this super anger trip, this hostile, blaming Dad for your problems, expecting Dad to give you money to rent place. You just wanted Dad to just keep paying this and that for you. That's ridiculous. I've had to pay my own way my whole life. I've worked my ass off my whole life. I was in a rat race for most of my life, in the corporate world, and have very little to show for it. Because I wasn't smart about investing. And those are the kind of things I was trying to teach you. Investing, having a passive income, having your own business. These are smart things. And one of the things for damn sure, I'm not going to allow my emotions to come in the way of my life the way Dad did until he realized that, oh shit, he had to have you evicted here twice because you were attacking us. Okay? And I love you. I just hope that the VA and the Veterans Association gives you some help, some mental health, man. I get it. You jumped out the planes. You did the war games. I get it. That's traumatic. It'd give anybody PTSD. Okay? You know, hey, and if you want to keep fighting, go to Ukraine. I hope they don't nuke the place when you're there if you do go. But if you want to be a fighter, you want to be a badass, go over there. I'm married and shit. And I think about every single day a fight for our country, for our freedom. You know, if you want to be G.I. Joe, go for it. But apparently, it didn't work out so well for you. You went AWOL, and Dad had to pay lawyers again. Okay? So I love you. I get it. But, you know, we all have our excuses and shit, but you can't blame Dad. And you can't blame me for your crazy bullshit. And this court stuff, I mean, it's sad. It's ridiculous. Everybody knows that Dad left the house to me. All his friends know. They were trying to help him draft a more formal will, but he wrote one out, and he made a couple videos. More than a few videos. Wrote more than a few notes, too. Everybody knows Dad left the house to me in my name for a reason. Because we love you, Andreas. You can't, with your record, even own the house. And he didn't want you to have anything to do with the artwork because you never want to have nothing to do in the first place. and I know how to sell it, and I've been giving you money. And every time I get a sale, I'm still going to give you some money out of my love and my heart. But for heaven's sake, leave us alone. Leave us alone. My own wife had to file order of protection against you. I mean, come on, man. Leave it alone. You're not paying the mortgage on the house. It's not your responsibility. You don't live here. Okay? So get that out of your head. Move on with your life. Maybe years from now or sometime down the road, if you want to come and visit us, that's one thing. You know? But come on now. Put your stuff in storage. Rent out an apartment. Be a big boy. Get a job that doesn't run your car in the ground. Put A to B to C. Take your money, get a little apartment, find a job that doesn't run your car into the ground, or lease a car. You can lease a car, or find some other job in the music business now that the pandemic's over. But for crying out loud, stop dragging this court shit. Stop pulling this bullshit, using the cops maliciously. I don't believe in using the cops like that. There's people out there, they're running around with guns, they're killing people. That's what the cops need to be focusing on, not this simple kind of bullshit. You holding my mail at the post office, for crying out loud? I call the post office, they're like, yeah, your brother's been holding all the mail there. How fucked up is that, you know? You're telling the cops things that are not true about me. That's horrible, man. That's mean. You know, I would never make up some story to try to have you arrested and thrown in jail. You're attacking me and Dad, and then you run out of here with Dad's phone, and you tell the cops that, oh, I'm attacking you? There's blood all over me. You fucking broke in here and shit. You hit Dad, and you're gonna twist it around? You're twisting all sorts of shit around. It's like every time you don't get your way, you just use muscle violence, and then, oh, I'm gonna call cops, right? Because, oh, you think I'm scared of the cops, or they're gonna do something bad, or that you're gonna try to manipulate some kind of shit to frame me or set me up. It's just sad. It's horrible. But I still love you. I still love you. I still love my brother. He's my baby brother, and I always love him. But I'm not gonna let you do what you did to Mom and Dad. I'm just not gonna. That's not gonna happen. I'm not gonna let you take everything, every fucking last thing. And the house is mortgaged to the hilt, and there's just some artwork, and that's it. Sadly, that's it. That's all that's left. Mom and Dad had a nice little nest egg, and all there is receipt. $100,000 settlement, $70,000 for this lawyer, $50,000 for that. You know, one order of protection, one arrest, one this, one that. I mean, the cops have been here so many times. Enough already with that. You know, it really, honestly, if my life had been a little different, I would have loved to have been a law enforcement officer. I believe in like being the superhero with the superhero belt and being a good Samaritan. But just because I didn't choose to do that, and didn't choose to be G.I. Joe, doesn't mean you don't respect, doesn't mean you shouldn't respect me. Just because your mom and dad are artists and they weren't successful on Wall Street, doesn't mean they're art is bullshit. Okay? Somebody brainwashed my brother to the point of no return. And it's sad, and I don't want to lose my relationship with him, but all these years, my dad's saying, you know, Andreas, just come and visit us. Let's go meet somewhere and talk, you know. Let's just try to spend a little more time. While Dad was alive, he didn't do that. And it's so sad. So what's making you think that you're going to do it now? And this whole little strategy of yours, it just backfired. You can't just go ahead and start taking Dad's cameras and selling them and shit. That's just fucking wrong, man. You know, and I'm letting it slide. I don't even know why. You know, because what, you need money and shit, but you don't need money now. You're good, you know. So I just hope that you realize that, you know, someday you look back and you can apologize to me. Because you can't apologize to Dad anymore. You can't apologize to Mom. And you owe it to yourself to find some type of forgiveness and some type of love. Okay, and I hope you find a girlfriend and somebody who loves you. And that you're not completely alone like you are now. So, necessity is the mother of invention. And God knows the truth. And the truth will set you free. And your freedom is your inheritance. That's what Dad got for you. He bought that for you. Because he knew you're a little fucked in the head. Think I'm crazy? Think my YouTube videos are crazy? You know what? I have fun doing them. I don't sit up there like this with a turntable. like I'm pissed off about something all the time. Shit, do I? You know, you see me smiling, right? I don't have to have this thug, ghetto, hard type of shit. You're a white kid from the suburbs or the country, okay? I get it. Everybody goes through their identity crisis when they're adolescent. But, dude, all the people that you've tried to work with, they see right through that. You know, and you have this expectation of people. Like when you met Jay-Z or whatever, you have this expectation. You're handing flyers out for somebody. Doesn't know you. Hold on, well, doesn't owe you. You know? I mean, having expectations like that for me and your father has been set yourself up to not be able to stand on your own 2 feet. Nobody told you need to spend $100 a night to live in a hotel, you know, and you're so dishonest about that because you probably weren't even spending $100 a night, and you refused to tell Dad and I where it was till we kind of put 2 and 2 together. And that's where you've been staying, and you've been staying with your girlfriend who kicked you out. You've been staying with your friends, but you haven't been living here. And I really hope that you realize that you should tell the judge, oops, I fucked up. I told everybody I was living there so I could try to get my brother arrested when you weren't. That's lying under oath, Andreas. That's perjury. So, you know, you keep getting warned and warned and warned by your father, by your brother, that you shouldn't hang out with fucking ghetto, crazy kind of people. You shouldn't emulate crazy people who rose up out of the ghetto with some rap album, you know, because not all these rappers and shit are cool people. Some of them I admire, you know, some of them are also just business people who make shitty music and maybe cool looking on, but your role models, your heroes they're off kilter. We weren't raised like that. I mean, I just don't get that. We were brought up on jazz, rock and roll, blues, classical music, reggae, you know? I just don't get that, man. So, you know, I hope that you can reinvent yourself. Peace.